If you're fortunate enough and talented enough to be a member of the Queensland Symphony Orchestra, there are two things you probably don't scrimp on. One of them would be, of course, the instrument you play, you would imagine, for obvious reasons. The other thing new recruits to the orchestra and any of its travelling groups are advised to spend a little extra on is a decent set of luggage, because they do like to travel. It is part of the job. They're not the Brisbane Symphony Orchestra, they are the Queensland Symphony Orchestra. And they try to, either as a whole orchestra or as at least one of its many subgroups, performance groups, try to perform in as many corners of this massive state as they can possibly get to on any given year. Tomorrow night, it is Millmerran's turn. The QSO Connect Wind Quintet Ensemble will be playing a concert called the Millmerran Community in Concert at 6:30 at the Community and Cultural Centre. Well, let's find out a little bit more about that. Yarmila Alfonzetti is QSO Chief Executive. Yarmila, good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, it's lovely to be joining you. Thank you for having me.
Tell me firstly, I'm amazed, how does the QSO manage to send the 5 members of this group, as well as, I would imagine, some other support staff to help make this concert happen, to Millmerran and then offer the show for free? How do you do that?
Look, that's an excellent question. It's a very the QSO, for those people who aren't very familiar with it, it's a very large and far-reaching, complex business, actually. So whilst we are actually in Brisbane right now rehearsing for the largest opera production ever written, The Ring Cycle, next door at QPAC, and Aida, and we will be playing the Nutcracker for Queensland Ballet, we never lose sight of the main game. And the main game is all of Queensland. It's servicing all of Queensland. So the thing is, it's very difficult actually to carve out musicians and staff to send them all over the state, but it's the most important thing we do. It's absolutely the main game for people at the QSO. So we love doing it. We make it a priority. It does give me, extra grey hairs from time to time.
And maybe a few less, a few of them fall out perhaps.
That's right. But it is wonderful. And, small visits like this, which is where we send a wind quintet or a smaller ensemble to various regions and towns. And these visits, what they do is they allow us to really insert ourselves into schools and connect very deeply with students and teachers, provide some real benefit to the community. And these visits punctuate our much larger visits where we send the whole symphony orchestra 4 times a year, which we're going to do from next year, out to main regional centres.
Because that's right. I mean, because at this concert, the Quintet are also performing with the Millmerran State School Concert Band and another local community band called Black Incorporated, which is the Pittsworth Community Band. So that would be such an educational experience for both of those bands to play with musicians of the calibre as you have at the QSO. So it really does achieve that aim, yeah.
Yes, and it's an important part of our reason for being. We exist as a service to Queenslanders, and most especially that means aspiring music students, people who love music within the community. So we are here to support students and teachers with their aspirations in music. The other thing we do when we go into these centres is we do professional development for music teachers who are often remote, and it's hard for them to stay connected with universities or cities, so we provide that professional development as well.
That's terrific. And I guess also for those travelling, it's a great experience to even see a little bit of the state that they perhaps haven't seen before. I mean, playing music has always been linked to travel. If you're a performing musician, you never just play in the one venue, so it's what they expect and probably part of the reason why they wanted to be a professional musician.
Oh, look, absolutely. One of the things that I absolutely love about the musicians in the Queensland Symphony Orchestra is no matter where we want to go or suggest going or plan to go, they jump on board. There is they just love it. They love being in the regions because so many of them have grown up in the country or they've come from far away. So they're true believers. The musicians do love it.
Tomorrow night, you're playing a venue that would be perfectly good in terms of acoustically and facilities-wise. You're in a community centre. But I would imagine, has the orchestra or some of its smaller groups played in some really unusual venues in your touring years?
Yes, look, absolutely. And I mean, perhaps the most unusual places are when we perform outdoors.
Yep.
So we're very lucky in Queensland that you can go to lots of small, medium and large size centres, and there are good halls, exactly as you said. And some of them, like you go to Cairns and there's a fantastic performing arts centre. The acoustics are wonderful and we love playing there. But the great thing, the thing that I love is when the QSO is outside under the stars, Symphony Under the Stars. There are thousands of people enjoying it. We've had to potentially build a bespoke stage. There's all kinds of infrastructure and moving parts and equipment, and they're the most unusual ones. For example, next year we are doing this in Port Douglas on the 25th of May. There'll be a huge Symphony Under the Stars outside. I mean, it's going to be absolutely magic. We do it in Gladstone. We're doing it in Townsville, the full symphony orchestra outside. So it really is come one, come all.
That is terrific. Great events, both for the locals and for the members of the orchestra as well, without a doubt. I'm curious, you mentioned those two big performances that were coming up, backing or supporting the Queensland Ballet, I think, with the Nutcracker, and then a...
Recycle.
That's right, yes, which is the opera. How does the orchestra work in terms of those who are going on the road in this particular quintet? So is that just a few rehearsals they have to miss, or are the musicians travelling on this almost reserve grade for the QSO? Do you have enough members that you can split off into different groups and they perhaps won't play some of these other shows? How does it work?
Yes, that's exactly what we do. We're actually, because... unbeknownst to many people, the Queensland Symphony Orchestra is one of the busiest orchestras in the country because we provide the pit services for the opera and the ballet exactly as you described. Recently, when the Australian Ballet was here, we also performed Swan Lake for the Australian Ballet. We also do gigs for Brisbane Festival, and we just did Birds of Tokyo at QPAC. So what we actually are running is a kind of festival, what I call a festival-style orchestra. It's a very complex system which requires multiple orchestra managers to piece together this puzzle. And we have under our umbrella at the moment, we have about 190 musicians, top quality, top-class musicians actually from all over the country. And what we do is we kind of rotate them in and out and through events so that we've got this kind of almost a kind of porous organism. And you can only do that when you've got really excellent musicians under your fingertips, because what it means is that people can step in and play things at a moment's notice, or go on tour, or come back and sit in the opera pit. And they're rehearsing all the time and performing all the time. So they're sort of match fit, which is the way I like to describe the QSO. It's basically a very high functioning sporting team which is at the ready all the time.
Well, that was the analogy I was thinking of, like a sporting team. So a player can be on the bench or reserve grade one week and then playing in the actual first-class game the next week, and then on the bench the week after, or even partway through a game. So no one's relegated to one particular position permanently. They get that rotation.
Absolutely. And you can only do that, as I was saying, when you've got people who are very high-quality experts in their field. You know, they've got a lot of experience. They're technically ready. They're at the ready all the time. So there's nobody who's, comes along and says, "Oh, I can't possibly play that." It's like you have to play it. You know it. You're on you're on tomorrow.
Yes.
Get on.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't know it well enough, well, you've got some work to do, haven't you?
That's right. You can go to another state because at the QSO we only take the best. Only the best in Queensland.
Harsh but fair. The concert I think you mentioned last weekend playing with Birds of Tokyo. So that would have been a bit of a, well, not a stretch, but obviously none of the members, you couldn't say, oh, well, you know this, you probably played it 1,000 times, because chances are they haven't. So gigs like that would stretch them quite a bit, wouldn't it?
Look, absolutely, and also because they're always being confronted with new music. But the thing is, when you've got a large group of exceptional musicians who are ready to perform, because remembering that they're rehearsing every day, multiple times a day, when they're not in the ABC building rehearsing, they're somewhere else practicing. And so what happens is they become very highly attuned to listening. So they can go and do a gig with Birds of Tokyo or something for the Brisbane Festival or an opera or a ballet. They know what they're doing because they're listening and they've gathered years of experience. So that's what happens when people are sort of at the top of their game.
Absolutely.
You're thrown in and you can sink or swim, but our guys swim.
Swim, absolutely. Yes, it's a fair bet. You're not overly worried.
No, not worried at all. I mean, the thing is, it's just it's a great privilege to be in an organisation like this, surrounded by music making, surrounded by people who care so much about what we do that we never lose sight of the fact that we are here at the behest of our community, the community of Queensland. So, we're always about where can we give back, what can we do, where can we teach, where can we help, where can we support.
The repertoire for tomorrow night's performance, give me a bit of a rundown.
Well, look, because it's going to be sort of concert band music, because it's a wind quintet from the QSO, which is flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, French horn, my favourite instrument. And then, as you said, the Millmerran State School Band and the Black Ink Pittsworth Community Band. It's going to be kind of sort of boisterous, fun, loud, energetic music. Some shanties, like sea shanties, Percy Grainger tunes, which people will recognise. Something from Magic Flute, the opera, Mozart's Magic Flute. People will recognise that as well, and a bit of a kind of, mixed bag of interesting pieces.
Fantastic, Yarmila. You can tell you love your orchestra. You almost sound like a proud parent.
I actually, it's funny you should say that. It is a bit like being a parent sometimes, but I never lose sight of the fact that it is a privilege to be in a major performing arts organisation. We come together every day simply to do good things and to make something beautiful. And I hope all Queenslanders are proud of the QSO, and I hope that we get to next year see everyone who wants to see us as we tour the stage.
Lovely to have a chat to you this morning, Yarmila. Thank you so much for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.